And welcome back to my shop. Rob Summerlin from Woodsley Summercraft here. Now today I have a piece of lacewood, and there's not much I enjoy more than finishing a project that my dad started. So this one, I'm not quite sure what he was planning on doing here, but he had a faceplate mounted to this side, and then it looks like he started hollowing it out, and then maybe realized that I should have done the back of the bowl first. So it's been abandoned for a long time. So my intention is to finish this bowl. It does have a hole through the middle of it, so it's going to have something in the middle of it to fill that hole. I'm not sure what yet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. But it's a piece of lacewood that my dad started, and I think he made a mistake and left it. But he, like every other wood turner, he didn't throw it out, he left it there. So let's see what I can do with this. First of all, I'm going to make the mortise, I think, on the inside of the bowl a little bit bigger, so that I can grab it with my chuck in expansion mode from the inside, and then I can finish my back, the underside of the bowl. And then I will grab it from the correct side and finish the inside of the bowl. So let's see how this one goes. Stick around and we'll get this bowl finished for my dad. So the first thing I've done is I've mounted it on my chuck. It's just floating really. It's held with pressure by my tailstock using that center hole. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to increase the size of my mortise just enough to get my chuck in expansion mode. It's just a temporary thing because the inside eventually is going to be returned away anyway. Okay, let's see if I can get that mounted on my chuck. And there it is, it's on my chuck. Now, I don't have a particularly good edge on my mortise, so I'm going to be very careful with this. I'm actually going to put my tailstock up for most of this for additional support. Okay, so one of the holes I put a little bit of CA glue in and some fine shavings. What I've done is I've taken the tailstock away, and I'm going to remove this nub here and finish this off now. I think it will be easier to do it now before I turn it around. my dad was here, he would never finish this bowl because it's not perfect, but I think it is perfect because I'm making it with my dad. It's one of those projects where I can say me and my dad made that. To me, that's kind of special. A little bit of super glue in there and some fine shavings. It won't completely disappear, but it will hide it somewhat, especially with lacewood. Lacewood tends to have patches in it anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to get this all sanded up. I'm going to get it sanded down to 1500 grit and Danish oil applied, and I'll come back to you as I turn it around. Okay, so I've got it sanded down to 1500 grit. I've been applying mineral oil as I go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply some Danish oil and just apply several coats just to let that soak in, bring out some of the luster of the wood. Certainly is a nice piece of wood. It would be a shame to have wasted it. So it's always nice when you can save a piece that was abandoned, which I've done a few times now. So I'll continue to do this for a little while and then I'll turn it around. In fact, I think that's good for now. I'm thinking about putting some texture on the bottom here. I might do that. I think I'm going to put some texture on the bottom here and then turn it around. And I'm just going to hold it on a slight angle, just close to the middle, on slow speed. I think I need to raise it up just a hair. Right there. That's nice. I'll bring you in for a close look. And there's my texture. Okay, my battery's just about to die, so I'm going to get the camera on charge and then we'll get this thing turned around and complete. Okay, so this is the inside of Dad's bowl. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this wide lip and just maybe have a slight curve to it, maybe some texturing on the lip, and on the inside I'm basically going to just round it off. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of work to it, just rounding it off. The inside's maybe 1/4 of an inch right now. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this with super glue and fine shavings. There's a little hole there, and then I'll be doing some texturing around it just like I did on the underside, just to kind of hide that, blend it in, and then I'm thinking it's going to be quite nice. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do then is I'm just going to round this edge off. I'm just going to use my scraper for this. Okay, so now I'm going to hollow the inside of the bowl with my 1/2 inch bowl gouge. so I have my basic shape that I'm looking for. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this all sanded down, and then I'm going to do my texturing. I'm going to do textured rim, and I'm going to do texturing in the middle, CA fill this, and then maybe a couple of score lines either side of the texturing, and then finish it off with some Danish oil. I'll come back to you when it's sanded. Okay, so I've just got this roughly sanded down to just to 100 grit. And before I apply any kind of oils or anything, if you can see that, there's that hole in the middle from the faceplate that my dad had on the backside. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill this with CA glue and then some fine shavings. Fill that up. Force some fine shavings in that hole. Should make it disappear once I have the shavings and then the texture in the middle. I don't think you're even going to really notice that it had a hole there. Okay, so that's done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to continue sanding. I'm going to continue sanding this down to 1500 grit, and then do my texturing, and then do my burnishing with the shavings. Okay, so at this point I've got the inside of the bowl sanded down to 1500 grit and some Danish oil applied. Now you can just about make out in the center of the bowl maybe that there was a hole there, and you saw me fill that with CA glue, super glue, and some fine shavings. That's almost disappeared, but what I want to do is with my Wagner texture tool. Okay, I'm back. I found my Wagner texture tool. It was not where I normally put it. So it's a strange thing, you know. When I lose something and I search for it and I can't find it, I ask my dad, and I kid you not, I nearly almost always find it immediately afterwards, and that was the case with this again. So anyway, thanks Dad for finding this for me. I am now going to texture the center of the bowl, not the edge. I was originally going to do the edge as well, but I decided against the edge. I'm going to have two textures, one in one direction and then a second one in the opposite direction. I've done the same way before, but I've never done two opposite directions on the same piece. So that's my intention with this right now. So I've got the lathe in slow speed, and now I'm going to go ahead and do my texturing in the center of this bowl. I'm going to hold the texture tool at a slight angle, and I'm just a hair too low. I need the texture tool to be in the center of the bowl. That seems a bit better. And it's not touching, so I'm going to texture that now. See how that looks? I'm actually very happy with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to burnish that off with shavings and then apply some oil and see how that looks. So I've got some shavings in my hand. Not the easiest thing to do when the shavings are so fine. I may end up going back to some fine sandpaper. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Get a fresh piece of paper towel, piece of tacky rag, just to get the shavings off of the bowl. And apply some oil to the center of the texture, which I think is quite effective, and as much as hiding it, it highlights it as well. Now I'm going to apply several coats of Danish oil over the next few days, but this bowl is finished. So I'll get this off the lathe and we'll get this thing wrapped up. And there's this week's bowl. It's 7.5 inches by 1.5 inches deep. Not very big bowl, but it's a piece that my dad started years ago, and I think he made a mistake and realized it when he broke through to the screw hole from the faceplate. For some reason he turned the inside first. Now whether he intended to use this as a jam chuck or something, I'm really not sure, but I've turned it into a lacewood bowl. So I'm going to call this Wartz'N'All. So this lacewood bowl is called Wartz'N'All. I'm going to give this piece to my mum. Now the reason I'm calling it Wartz'N'All is because of these screw holes. There's one in the back, one in the middle, and there's a couple in the back too. You can barely make them out. So that's why I'm calling it Wartz'N'All. The other reason is that my dad, who was an engineer by trade, which is why he probably didn't want to use this because it wasn't perfect. He was in a band with my brother called Wartz'N'All, and the band is still going and they do covers of different songs. So this one's from me and my dad this week, called Wartz'N'All. I'll put some photographs at the end, and again, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you.